One moment, Phil was a pickleball champion, a master of the court, feeling the exhilarating thwack of the ball. The next, his world collapsed, his breath stolen by a silent predator. This is the story of how a vibrant community rallied, showing that the true heart of the game isn't just about winning, but about lifting each other when the game of life throws an unexpected curveball. Stay with us until the end to discover Phil's profound message about resilience and community. Please note, names and images have been changed to protect privacy. Nothing in this video should be taken as medical advice. Always consult a physician for everything before doing anything. The sun was a molten orange blob sinking behind the far wall of the court, casting long, dramatic shadows across the acrylic surface of the court. Phil, usually a dynamo of movement and fierce angles, felt his chest tighten, not with excitement, but with an unfamiliar, suffocating effort. He and his partner Michelle were locked in a 10-10 tiebreaker against the notoriously relentless Smith twins. Phil had the paddle skills of a maestro, a perfect reset, a devastating drive, and a drop shot that kissed the kitchen line and died. But tonight, every foot movement felt like wading through cement. "Yours, Phil," Michelle called, anticipating the twins' next power drive. Phil lunged forward, paddle extended. He managed a low, deep volley, forcing the twins back. But as he planted his feet to rush to the kitchen, a sharp, desperate need for air seized him. It wasn't the familiar, pleasant burn of exertion. It was a dry, rattling, frantic gasp. His vision tunneled. "Inhale, Phil, inhale," Michelle muttered under her breath, watching him stumble near the line. The twins hit a high sitter. Phil knew he had to put it away. He jumped, swinging overhead, but the sound that came out was less a celebratory pop and more a sickly wet cough. The ball sailed 5 feet long. Game over. 12-10. Phil doubled over, paddle clattering to the court. His hands pressed against his knees, not in fatigue, but in sheer panic. He tried to pull in air, but it felt like breathing through a wet sponge. The sound, that dry, insistent crackle, was alarming. Michelle dropped her paddle instantly, her friendly, competitive expression replaced by alarm. "Phil, hey Phil, look at me." She put a supportive yet concerned hand on his back. "That's not normal. You're blue." The rest of the evening blurred into flashing lights and the frantic realization that this was no simple, out-of-shape moment. This was the sudden, shattering hook. The game Phil loved had betrayed him, revealing a devastating vulnerability hidden beneath the surface. The fluorescent lights of the hospital waiting room hummed with a clinical indifference that Michelle found infuriating. Phil was undergoing a battery of tests: spirometry, high-resolution CT scans, and blood work. Michelle, a fixture on the courts, felt utterly useless off them. She was a master of anticipating opponents' shots, but she couldn't predict this. When Dr. Chen finally delivered the diagnosis, the world tilted. Idiopathic Pulmonary Fibrosis, the doctor stated gently, placing the glossy images on the lightbox. Simply put, Phil's lungs are scarring. They are thickening and hardening over time, making it incredibly difficult to absorb oxygen. Michelle stared at the milky, spiderweb-like patterns on the CT. Idiopathic, meaning we don't know why? Exactly, and the acute exertion, that sudden need for oxygen on the court. That simply highlighted the problem. It's been there, simmering, but the intensity of the game brought it to a crisis point. Dr. Chen explained that the disease had progressed silently, masquerading as mild fatigue until the sudden stress of the tiebreaker pushed Phil's respiratory system past its capacity. Phil would need constant supplemental oxygen, specialized medications, and potentially a lung transplant down the road. His competitive pickleball career was over. Phil, pale and connected to a nasal cannula, received the news with a shocking stillness. "So, no more bangers?" He managed a single, weak attempt at humor. Michelle felt a hot wave of sorrow. Phil's life revolved around the rhythmic thwack of the ball and the community it brought. Now, silence was his new partner. Michelle knew Phil's heart lay on the court. What is the hardest part of losing something you love? The pickleball courts felt wrong without Phil. His absence was a heavy, palpable thing, like a shadow stretched across the kitchen. Players instinctively looked toward the corner bench where Phil usually held court, joking and offering unsolicited but usually brilliant advice. Now, it was empty. Phil was home, surrounded by medical equipment, his life reduced to the measured hiss of the oxygen concentrator. Despair was settling in like the relentless fibrosis in his lungs. He refused visitors, embarrassed by his weakness and furious at his body. He tried to watch videos of matches, but the effortless movement of the pros only deepened his misery. Michelle, however, refused to accept his isolation. She was a force of nature, a high-energy organizer who saw problems as puzzles to be solved. She tried texting, calling, leaving baked goods on his porch. Nothing worked. One afternoon, she walked onto court 3 and saw Dave, Phil's closest friend and occasional doubles partner, sitting alone, sadly wiping his paddle. "He won't even talk to me, Michelle," Dave admitted, his voice low. "He says he doesn't want our pity. He says he doesn't belong here anymore." Michelle gripped her paddle tighter. "He doesn't get to decide that, Dave. This community is not defined by who can win the gold medal. It's defined by who shows up for the people who fall down. We need a plan." Michelle's plan was audacious and immediate. She posted a flyer in the community clubhouse, Operation Paddle Forward. "Phil needs help, not pity, real tangible help. Pulmonary fibrosis treatment is astronomical, and Phil won't ask for aid, so we're giving it anyway. We are dedicating the entire next Saturday tournament to Phil. Every registration fee, every concession sale, every donated paddle sold will go directly to his medical fund." The response was overwhelming. Dave immediately volunteered to handle logistics. Sarah, the local artist, offered to paint a custom pickleball mural on a donated paddle to be auctioned. Old Mrs. Henderson, who only played 1.0 social games, started baking her famous lemon squares for the concession stand. The local paddle manufacturer, hearing the story, donated 10 high-end paddles for a raffle. Michelle created a personalized community check-in schedule. Every day, a different member of the pickleball group was assigned a task, a quick text, a prepared meal drop-off, a funny video link, or simply an offer to run an errand. It was organized chaos, powered by genuine affection. The goal wasn't just money. It was to show Phil that his value extended far beyond his ability to execute a third shot drop. They were rallying not for points, but for their friend. Saturday dawned bright and loud. The courts were packed, far more than any regular tournament. The energy was electric, driven not by the thrill of competition, but by a collective act of love. They had a donation jar shaped like a giant pickleball. The custom-painted paddle auction reached 3 times the initial estimate. Even non-players from the community came just to drop off donations and buy a lemon square. Michelle, wearing a shirt that read "Phillies Fighters," managed the event with the focused intensity she usually reserved for the finals. Late in the afternoon, Dave pulled her aside. "Michelle, you won't believe it. We've raised over $25,000. Michelle's eyes welled up. "It's enough for the specialized oxygen machine he needs, Dave, the one insurance wouldn't touch." Just then, a hush fell over the crowd. A golf cart slowly approached the fence line. In the passenger seat sat Phil. He was bundled up, his nose connected to a portable oxygen tank, but he was there. Michelle rushed to him, kneeling beside the cart. "Michelle, I saw the turnout," Phil whispered, his voice raspy but full of emotion. "I had to see it. It's incredible." "It's just us, Phil. Your family," she said, squeezing his hand. Phil couldn't play, but he spent the next hour simply watching, listening to the familiar sounds, and smiling as players stopped by to chat. The sight of him, frail but present, spurred the players to new heights of enthusiastic, if slightly sloppy play. The community rallied around Phil, not just with money, but with time and presence. Question: if you were Phil, what small gesture from your community would mean more than any donation? With the financial burden eased and his spirit lifted by the outpouring of love, Phil committed himself to rehabilitation. It was a grueling process, forcing his stiff lungs to relearn basic functionality. Michelle was his constant escort, driving him to appointments and helping him with breathing exercises. While he couldn't return to the fast pace of competitive play, Phil slowly started returning to the courts in a new role. He'd sit courtside, connected to his oxygen machine, but his eyes were sharp and his mind was engaged. He started coaching. Dave, too much power, too flat, lift the third shot, give yourself time. Sarah, watch your stance, low to high, you're sacrificing precision for reach. Players quickly realized that Phil, stripped of his own ability to play, had developed an almost clairvoyant understanding of the game. His perspective from the sidelines, removed from the tunnel vision of competition, was invaluable. He saw patterns, weaknesses, and potential plays nobody else did. He found a new rhythm in the thwack, thwack, thwack of the ball, now not a source of pain, but a backdrop to his purpose. Michelle, seeing him thrive in this new role, felt a profound sense of relief. They weren't partners on the court anymore, but they were partners in resilience. Phil realized he still belonged. His paddle was retired, but his voice was loud, clear, and essential. Months later, at the next annual tournament, Phil was asked to give out the awards. He walked slowly to the podium, needing the support of a cane, but his eyes sparkled. He paused, looking over the hundreds of faces, the people who had saved him. "I won a lot of matches on these courts," Phil began, his voice surprisingly strong, amplified by the mic. "I focused on winning, on getting the perfect angle, on the drive, the drop, the banger. And when I collapsed, I thought I had lost everything. I thought the game had passed me by because my lungs failed." He gestured to the court. But the truth is, the true game isn't the 11 points you score. The true game is the people who stand with you when you're down. It's the community that looks past your weakness and remembers your strength. It's Michelle, who saw a crisis and turned it into a rally. It's Dave, who stayed when I pushed him away. It's every single one of you who brought $1, a lemon square, or a kind word. Phil adjusted his grip on the cane, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. "I may not be able to play competitively anymore, but I've found my most important position, on the sidelines, supporting my community, just as you all supported me. So here is the message I want you to take with you. Whether you're in a tiebreaker on court 1 or fighting a silent battle at home, remember that you are never playing alone. The heart of the game is not the ball. It's the net of support you build around you, and that net is always there to catch you." He raised a custom-engraved paddle, a symbol of the community's love, and smiled. "Now, let's play some pickleball." We hope this story about love and resilience on the pickleball court had meaning in your life. If it did, please give the video a like and consider subscribing to this channel. It helps bring more stories like this to life. This story inspired us to make a design that represents courage, healing, and hope. If you or a loved one can relate to this story, we invite you to view the design and help keep this message alive. You'll find the link to the design in the description below. For more uplifting stories, click a playlist or video here.